What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time for another edition of Live with Fast Eddie Fear here at FTNDaily.com. My name is Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg, DFS, alongside my good buddy, the man on the marquee. It's Eddie. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm extremely well. How are you, Zachary?
Doing well.
And Zachary, it could be Zachariah or something else.
It is Zachary.
It is Zachary. I see, with an H, I presume.
Yeah.
You don't use that on your nom de plume there.
Yeah. And the ARY. I've seen some ERYs as well.
Really?
Yeah. George Hill out, by the way, as we get started.
Is he out? That was not irrelevant.
I agree.
It would have limited a couple guys there, most notably Javon Carter. Also, in theory, takes 2 minutes off flavor of the day, Grayson Allen, the day tripper. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart move because they should not have, similar to the Heat last night, they can run their JV squad and probably win this game.
Yeah, exactly. It was like we were talking 2 games back. We were like, maybe Kyle Lowry will Wolverine to push third. But yeah, but why? Like Kyle Lowry in Toronto, maybe because he'd been there forever and there wasn't quite as much of a culture. I bet he could push his way into starting. I think Kyle Lowry walks into Pat Riley's office and he's like, come on, I want to go to No, we're here to win a title. I don't give 2 fucks about whatever I'm going to go out there and take charge of shit is. Go sit down for 7 days, get healthy. We're trying to win. Fuck off. I think it would be a very quick meeting.
So one thing I was thinking as the theme music of the day was leading us in here to our hour plus is that we might be leaving some value on the table for subscribers by not going live as soon as you get into the room. Because some of our more spirited debates happen, I think, before we go live. And we were talking Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White. And so I think that's where we can go ahead and start. Obviously, the Bulls without Zach LaVine tonight, without Alex Caruso, who's in concussion protocol, and LaVine in the health and safety protocols for the 3rd time this season, I believe.
Maybe there's a 3rd there.
But yeah, so shorthanded Bulls here. I believe on my last refresh, they were 12.5 point dogs, still 12.5 point dogs here up in Mr. Joe Metz's neck of the woods, which, by the way, pre-congrats to our man Conrad getting married this weekend.
I thought you were going to say for the Bucks winning. I'm like, geez, that's a jinx. But okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And it wouldn't matter if I jinxed him anyways, because it was 6 weeks ago that Joe said on air, I don't care what happens this year. And it took 2 minutes in game 1 before Joe was tweeting with all the emotion in the world about the Bucks playoff game. So I'll continue to give him shit about that. The other game on the slate tonight, Warriors returning home 8.5 point favorites here, up 3-1 against the Nuggets. 8 more points in that implied total in the nightcap, but let's stick with this first game.
Can we leave and come back tomorrow? Because tomorrow's slate's really good. I think you are. This Memphis Minnesota series is awesome. I'm rewatching those games and loving them. This one is all right, everything broke the Nuggets' way, and they managed to barely steal a game because Clay and Draymond got in foul trouble, and they made everything, and Austin Rivers had 17 deflections and 5 steals, and just everything broke their way, and they snuck one out. And then,
if Wiggins puts that tip dunk back, that game's over.
Yeah, and I predicted the sweep against the Bulls, and they managed to steal one and look competent in the first 2 games before getting just wrecked on their home floor, and now they're going back to Milwaukee minus Alex Caruso. So there's not as much money to be made. There's some, because I do think there's a couple guys who will be under-owned and over-owned. But I want to. Can we just come back tomorrow? Maybe let's stay on the air for 26 hours.
Yeah. Just do a marathon stream. We'll watch the games tonight. We can game overnight. We'll get up. We'll do a morning show.
I would really do a 24-hour. I would do a 20. Schedule out trivia, workout session,
workout session,
ridiculous video game, push-up contest. See if I can do 200 push-ups in 24 hours. I think that'd be really interesting. I'm old, I get tired in a hurry. I think it's shit for me. So.
Well, and if anybody else is having issues, I know Weston in the chat said that he saw Kuminga as a 10 there. So I guess for some people still refreshing there, Kuminga is a 5 tonight. in those ranks.
That's about right. That's about right.
So hopefully that will be showing up correctly for everybody else. But again, like I said, we were debating the merits of Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu right before we went live. Both of those guys 10s in the ranks, and with the absences for the Bulls, both project fantastically in the context of this 2-game slate. But I guess we started off. I said I was a bigger fan of Kobe White tonight. I know you were a bigger fan of kind of, I guess, the safety and maybe the upside of Ayo Dosunmu. And I know Alex Blickel, who was on with me yesterday, another fantastic stream by Mr. Blickel. He was also saying in the chat earlier, Kobe White would be his fade tonight. So I guess I'll toss it to you. Talk to me about these two guards and how you see them in the context, of the slate. Probably the two highest owned guys when this game locks.
Yeah, the two highest guys even when the other game locks. Mm-hmm. These will be your two highest owned plays on the slate. I currently am messing around with Kobe White at 82% and Ayo Dosunmu at 66%. That's where I'd guess them at this moment. And I have Ayo Dosunmu for lower ownership, more fantasy points, more minutes, more like for me, I just want to play Ayo Dosunmu. Yes, there is the possibility that they lean on Kobe White and he goes out there and takes a giant pile of shots and converts. I just have him for actually fewer fantasy points. And as I said to you, I think there's some if they sit one of those two guys down, like if one of those guys is at risk not to play 36 minutes, it's absolutely Kobe White. They absolutely will put Kobe White's ass on the bench because he's just not good. Like he's played in the 4 games he's played this series. He's had multiple turnovers in a couple of them. He cannot make a goddamn shot. He's fouling. I think he had 2 fouls in each of the last 2 games in 15 or 20 minutes. He's just, you need Ayo out there to run the offense, and a not unreasonable way to view the game playing out is DeRozan and Vooch take all the shots and they just hero ball the shit out of this. And Dosunmu is a better rebounder, better assists, better steals, better blocks, better minute. Like just Kobe White projects great. I have Kobe White right now for, to use specific numbers on these two guys. I have Kobe White for 35.5 minutes and 26 3/4 fantasy points. That's very good for $4,500. I have Ayo Dosunmu for 38 minutes and 27.25 fantasy points. I think he's 20% less owned. You can absolutely play both of them. I'm not like saying don't play Kobe White, and I agree with the ranking as a 10. But I actually see the floor being a little more evident. You are right that Ayo on this team in this mode can run out and end up putting up a really small number. But for me, actually, I think he'll be initiating the offense more, whereas Kobe can just be not the guy who gets involved in the shed. Whereas I think Ayo has to have his hands on the ball a lot. Like they can just go a ton to Vooch and even Patrick Williams, who put up a 20-10 in the last game, whatever. So I think your ceiling is probably greater with Kobe White. Not by a ton for me, but I think your ceiling is a touch greater there. But I don't want 80 whatever percent owned Kobe White. In one lineup, I don't have him. I have Ayo Dosunmu, who also I think are they both point and shooting eligible?
No, just point guard on Ayo, and you get the dual guard eligibility for Kobe.
So that's relevant on a 2-game slate. So it's again they both project extremely well. And I'm assuming my grasp on the ownership is right, looking at other people's expert rankings and talking.
I think it may be a case.
I said to you put it on the board. I will just straight up DK points on Ayo over.
I will do it because, like you said last time, we may end up in 3 weeks where I'm still at 26 or whatever I'm at. Yeah, 26, and you're at 53 because another 3-0 sweep for you the other night.
Did that really happen? I had no idea that happened. What were the 3? There was
you get the ownership.
You asked for that one. Okay, what were the other 2?
And then it was Pascal, and I took Spider, and I took Harden.
That'll happen.
And a good game by Pascal. And again, talking about the games that are upcoming, I am excited to see Game 6 there. Do you think, just as an aside, do you think we're going 7?
No.
Yeah.
I believe Philly will close it out. Don't get me wrong. I believe Doc Rivers is a little backwards when it comes to playoff coaching, but
did you see his spiel on his own?
I did not. I have it saved somewhere where it's like Doc responds to someone bringing up the fact that he sucks in the playoffs, and I have not actually gone forth and gotten into it. But yeah, it's again, we're splitting hairs here a little bit. I'm not. The ownership is so. The extrapolative mathematics make it really harder to predict ownership as it gets higher and higher and higher. Mm-hmm. As an example of telling the difference between 92 and 97% ownership is actually kind of tough. But I think Kobe gets into the 8s. I think Io stays in the 6s. That's my gut feel on it, having looked around on a number of sites. And for me, that makes Io and again, I have Io projected for very slightly higher. But they're both good. If you're building a cash lineup, you play them both.
Yeah.
If you're building a cash lineup, you may end up playing them both and DeMar and Vooch, which feels weird. But.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think DeMar would be the one that I would leave out, because I think that now with Levine out, the Bucks even more so are going to be able to focus the majority of their attention on DeMar. I do prefer Vooch. And I guess just to kind of finish off the Kobe and Io discussion for now, I will take that bet. We'll put it on the board. And I just, from a purely basketball perspective, I don't think if you're trying to win this game, you can put Kobe White on the bench, because you need the scoring. He is the only guy on this team outside of Vooch that can shoot the ball with any sort of consistency.
I think that's at least an oversimplification. If you want to say shoot the 3 and spread the floor, I'd kind of concede that point. But DeMar can shoot the ball. Like DeMar DeRozan can shoot a basketball extremely well. Just not beyond about 20 feet.
Sure, but clear. I thought it was pretty clear that that's what I was kind of putting out there. You have to be able to spread the floor to give DeMar some room. And if Vooch is just sitting at the top, you're going to need Kobe White out there on the wings or sitting in the deep corner being a threat. And comparing his shooting ability to Derek Jones Jr., Troy Brown Jr., a lot of juniors today.
Yeah.
Otto Porter in the late game. Michael Porter on the bench there. A lot of juniors. You have to be able to score against this Milwaukee Bucks team. And they may not score enough, obviously, with Kobe out there.
There's a chance they get – right, but he's out there in the blowout anyway, I think.
You think Kobe plays in the blowout?
That's actually a real question. Let me check their blowout run last night. I believe Lord knows we've seen some blowouts from them this series, so it's not hard.
You did get him in there.
I believe
Jones, Io.
Right. They both closed in the blowout in the last one, next to Troy and Javante, right?
Yeah. And I guess with this squad out there, I wouldn't be surprised to see one of Kobe or Io take a seat in the blowout and just let one of them run the point there, because they do have other bodies. But again, it's an elimination game. Like, even if they're down 30, these main guys are going to play at least until like 7 or 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. At least that's just how having a little pride, I guess.
And that's the reason they both look really good. Like I significant risk on Kobe's minutes, and I still have him projected for 35 and a half. I agree with you. Well, like, again, I think the odds that Dosunmu outside foul trouble or injury doesn't play like 37 minutes is like 1%. I think the odds that Kobe doesn't play 37 minutes is like 8%. I don't think it's likely at all. He's probably out there jacking up shots, but it's higher than it is for, like, the guy who's most likely to sit is Kobe, then Pat, then Io, of those guys not getting all the minutes they can possibly handle. But I want to look across the ball for a little bit, because I think my favorite play on the slate is Drew Holiday. He was very, very good last game and just didn't put up a giant fantasy line. He was incredibly under-owned. I think I recall Herm lamenting in chat that on a slightly larger slate, he was 10 or 11% owned.
Yeah.
I have him for 21 today. I think he's great. Especially if you're not playing Giannis. It's difficult playing 100% of lineups. And his matchup is so much better now that you've gotten Alex Caruso out of there. Now he goes into like all the ceiling is open. So in that last game, he had like 2 rebounds or something and only 7 assists, and he was efficient and like everything gets better. So he projects extremely well for me, and I believe he is the best play versus ownership that you're going to find out there. People are going to jump all the hell over all the balls for very good reason. Giannis obviously makes a ton of sense. But those secondary play, like I really like Drew Holiday. The minute should be there, the production should be there, and I just don't think he should be 40% owned, and he's going to be 20% owned. Like I think that's probably my largest. If I'm building lineups for tonight, I would probably lock Drew Holiday. I'm not saying he's a lock based on pure value. He's absolutely going to get there relative to all the other 8K players of Vooch and Rosen, but I do think he will be the most dramatically owned, under-owned of those players on this slate. So,
yeah, I do not differ from you there. It was nice to see the shot volume come up. Obviously, the minutes also came up in that game. That was a bit closer, even though the final score didn't really indicate it compared to game 3.
Helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
It helps a cookie. Like it's just
and the peripherals were down in that game too, especially the rebounds. Drew's a good rebounding guard.
Yeah, he's a very good rebounding guard. So yeah, he's and he played a very good game, but took his 21 shots, made 10. That's about what you expect. I guess a little higher on the threes, but only 7 dimes. That's a little less than you expect. 2 rebounds is way less than you would expect. 1 steal, no blocks. Still had a very competent stat line. I haven't projected for more. I'm projected for 47 3/4 today. And again, that's the average like this. So there's a real ceiling there. So yeah, probably my favorite guy is Drew Holiday. If that's where I would plant my flag, as the saying goes in the industry.
Ezekiel's saying, I know we haven't moved on to the second game yet, but he has a conundrum: Clay versus Poole versus Wiggins. That's something I do want to get into, but I think dive a little bit deeper into this one.
Yeah, so someone said in the chat, the way I'm trying to look at it is if he's going to be 80% owned, he's referring to Kobe, but it's a 50% chance he hits 30 DK, then that's definitely a fade strategy-wise. Okay, so that's a very significant oversimplification of a complicated question. It depends exactly what the curve of his scoring production looks like. It depends incredibly what the other value plays project to look like beyond him. The things you can possibly pivot to there. I don't think there's a 50% chance he hits 30. I would have him projected for 30 if I thought there was a 50% chance he hits 30. I think there's probably a 40% chance he hits 30, give or take. But this oversimplification doesn't, if he hits 28, he's probably good. So, there's if there's a 50% chance he's in the ideal lineup and he's 80% owned, your theory could be, then I think it's a good fade strategy-wise. And that's not even necessarily the case because, it depends how chalky, not chalky you are. Did you focus on this game? There's a real chance that even if he doesn't land in the optimal lineup, that the safety of just getting another guy lets you pivot and play more, whatever you think your edge cases are. If it's Wiggins or Drew Holiday that you're landing on that, it's just like, I'm going so overweight on Drew Holiday, I don't need to fade away from Kobe White. There's a number of different ways that can be looked at, but that's at best a significant oversimplification of a really complicated question. I do think on the whole, he will be over-owned at 80-odd%. I would rather have less than more. If you're telling me I had 0 or 100, I would probably play 0, but I would definitely probably try to play less.
Some other news coming in on games that do not happen tonight. Devin Booker progressing towards a return soon, potentially game 6 or game 7 of this first round.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, better games tomorrow. But,
yeah. Well, and then we
don't have to... three games tomorrow.
Yeah. We're running out of those 3-game slates.
Yeah, you do not play him in game 6 in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, it's just common sense. If you need to, you bring him out and pull out all the stops for Game 7 back in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
You don't play him tomorrow. I mean, he would need to walk out and be like, I'm 100%. Like, just common sense doesn't make sense for me. You should be able to get a Game 7 at home. You obviously don't want it to go that far, but you definitely want to give the chance of him getting 7 days more off or whatever the hell it would be before Game 1. So you really don't want to make him sprint around if you can possibly avoid it. If you're telling me there's, like, what are the odds they can beat the Pelicans tomorrow in New Orleans without him? I'd say a little higher than 50%, like 55%. So I give myself that out, and then I can get back to Phoenix and in theory have a very good chance if I need to deploy him there and he says he's 100%. Like, I can probably get through almost certainly without him playing Game 6. So yeah, I'd really need it to put him out there.
Yeah. How about some of those, really secondary, almost tertiary guys when this team is healthy for the Bulls? Especially if Kobe White does lose some minutes. Javonte Green, Derek Jones Jr., Troy Brown Jr. How do you feel about that trio of lesser known names there from a DFS perspective tonight? I think it's tough. Like Donovan has trusted Javonte Green a ton this year, and he's done well for them. If I was sitting in the chair, I think I'm preferring Derek Jones Jr. or even Troy Brown, just because Troy Brown is that guy that's going to go out there and stretch the floor from a shot attempt standpoint. I'm not saying he's going to knock in a bunch of threes, but that's a guy that's standing out there and spotting up for the majority of his offensive looks. But again, I can't overlook the fact that Donovan really likes what Javonte Green brings to this team when they're in a pinch. Yeah,
for projection order for me, it's pretty clearly after the 5 starters, it's Javonte, then Derek, then Troy. Or next. I'm not going to play any Troy Brown Jr. Again, I'm a Troy Brown Jr. fan. You could argue, but I would rather play Derek Jones Jr. for a couple of reasons. One, he can play a few positions here. He can actually play the 3, the 4, and the 5 for this team. They've been using him as basically a backup center in a couple of rotations here. I think there's a chance Tristan Thompson doesn't play. He's been worse than Kobe, if I can say that. The worst player on this team in the playoffs has been Tristan Thompson. The second worst player has been Kobe White. But the worst player has been Tristan Thompson. He's been awful. Last game, he played 5 minutes. Like, he's overprojected around the industry. I keep seeing places that have, 14 minutes of Tristan Thompson. GTFO that's going to happen. Like, I think 0 is more likely than 10 at this point. He's been bad. Last game he played, I think he played 5 minutes and had, 2 fouls and 3 turnovers. And nothing like, it's just not good. Should not be. This may be the end of the line for him, by the way. He can go out and do what he's good at full time. That's father children outside of wedlock.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That much. So anyway, so for me in a GPP, I would probably rather airplane mode. I would probably rather Derek Jones Jr. I would probably rather get DJJ in there. He is 3,100. He projects slightly worse for me than Javonte, who will be slightly higher on, but I think the ceiling is a little higher on Derek Jones Jr., and there's just more ways in which he gets a preponderance of minutes. But those guys would be close for me. It's either of those guys who I think are most likely to randomly get 25 minutes, which is not impossible with these guys out. Then Troy, then I guess Kristen, if you really wanted to fire that bullet, but you need a sniper's bullet or multiple fouls on Nikola Vucevic.
Couple questions in
Nikola
the chat.
Vucevic? I think I'm getting that right. Nikola
Jokic. You had it.
Nikola Jokic. Nikola Vucevic. I had it wrong. It's Nikola Vucevic.
Really?
I had it wrong. It's Nikola Vucevic. It's Nikola Jokic. It's that match the long O's. It's Nikola Jokic and Nikola Vucevic. I'm 99% sure. Chat, we need you to get on this immediately. How much I care about appropriate pronunciation and grammar, and I don't want to offend anyone.
So we had I do want to get to T Panthers question here.
I think I inverted it. T Panthers has a question. Is it about pro wrestling?
It's not, but it is about his 1B topic, which is large field GPP showdowns. So he has graciously posted the captain and utility salaries for this first game, and said that, or he asked you and I, would Drew be our favorite captain there? And my answer was Drew or Vooch. Vooch is 300 cheaper there.
I'm just gonna take Drew. I think. He is well priced, and I just feel like he is the player who the public zeitgeist perception of him at this point is not fully matched up. Like literally, he projects for. I think I may have underprojected him. You could honestly put a 50 on him at this point. The matchup got so much better. The way the rotations work in a potential blowout, he actually gets a couple extra minutes now. I probably just lean on that. Like when I look at the play, like he's probably a little under-owned. Brooke Lopez is probably a little under-owned because of how massive Portis has been, but not so much. And he is really limited in this spot. And like I think he still gets his time. My one placeholder full slate lineup had Brooke Lopez and Drew Holiday in it, and not Giannis. I don't have an issue playing Giannis. He projects for $1 billion.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this slate for him whatsoever. It is worth pointing out, and I guess I haven't specifically said it today. We have two games, and they both have significant lines. So, again, it is difficult to quantify the following statement exactly, but it is a good day to lean heavily on one game if you're playing one lineup. It is a good day to lean heavily on individual games if you are playing both games together. The odds that both the games stay competitive the whole way are small. Now, they're elimination games, so that's a reverse tension of the same way. Like game stacking is less important because the odds on someone losing a ton of minutes are small. But there are not a lot of ways in which a game becomes exceptional. The most obvious one that people think of is we're going to get some overtime and these guys play 10% extra minutes. Yeah, that's really useful. But there's just the pace goes the fuck out of control. The last game between Denver and the Warriors had 247 in regulation, if I'm remembering the score correctly. And that is not where they're going to get average. And so the crazier one side goes tends to be the crazier the other side goes. The more one team pushes into transition, the more the other team tends to get into transition. So it's not just blowout guys sitting down and stuff. It's just your game going a little apeshit nutty. So it is slightly more important than even on a normal 2-game slate today, due to the lines, to try to stack one side or the other a little more.
We did get a starting lineup here. Dosunmu, DeRozan, Javonte Green, Pat Williams, and Nikola Vucevic. So Kobe off the bench.
Oh no! See, now that changes fucking everything we got to do because his ownership will crumble too. But yeah, he's not good. Like I don't want to overstate that. Like he can shoot, but he's one of a lot of 22-year-olds in the league who can go out and shoot and not do a whole lot else well, and they tend to piss coaches off. So when you can play someone else, this was kind of my point. They're going to play somebody else. So now that news came out 29 minutes before lock. I assume I didn't miss it by much.
Yeah. Right at the.
I really wish they had waited because fuck you taking my edge all the time. It always happens. Really aggravating. 30 minutes before lock. Yeah.
I think Kobe White's going to be in that game very fast when the Bucks get off to a 12-2 start.
Yeah, I'm going to reproject him. He will lose time for me now. He's going to come down a little bit. He's still going to project great. The ownership is what's going to get interesting now. I think Io may now pass him. That's really frustrating. That's really aggravating.
Holiday, Matthews, Giannis, Portis, Lopez on the other side, so no surprises there.
See? God damn it.
Yeah, Gelner agreeing with me. This lineup with Pat Will and Javonte Green is going to be hilarious. They cannot score.
Well, here's the thing. They had a very competitive game 1 and game 2, and Zach LaVine did fuck all.
Sure.
Like he was out there, though. The floor, and you have to guard him. Don't get me wrong. You have to guard him a lot more than you have to fucking guard Javonte or Pat Williams. So, like, I'm not saying it's not useful to have him out there, but Zach LaVine did not do that much in those games, to my lament, because this is a Bucks team that if you handle correctly and stay above the break, you can manage to pick up a really good number of 3-pointers against, and percentage 3-pointers taken is a good marker for doing well in the association these days. Mm-hmm. That's not how they ended up going with it, but in these last couple of games, they actually gave up a lot of corner threes. Like DeRozan took 5 threes in the last game, I think. I think he missed them all. I think DeRozan went 0 for 5 from 3 in the last game, if I'm remembering this right. I rewatched it earlier today. But
correct.
So
he has 4 attempts in the other 3 games combined.
Right. So, like, that's a thing, which is good for Kobe. They're still allowing that. Like, they're all corner threes, which are, in theory, the best shot in the NBA outside of a dunk or layup, and there's a whole lot of whatever theory here. And DeRozan tends to be incredibly good at shots that aren't good in the NBA. This has been a really nice postseason for people who don't – I don't like that the modern NBA is all layups and 3-pointers. I enjoy the process that teams use to mathematize and maximize that. I do enjoy, Hollinger / super system / I do enjoy the taking of something and mathematically applying it and breaking it down to that. I do enjoy Daryl Morey ball. I do enjoy, look, layups are good and threes are good. Let's do everything we can to take as many of those shots as possible. But there's an equilibrium there. And a lot of teams countered that and countered that and countered that and countered that and countered that. And it's like, okay, hold on. If you have a player who's really good at shooting from 15 to 20 feet, and everyone's defensive system is no longer optimized to prevent that from happening, hold on. And that is not irrelevant for the fact that DeMar DeRozan literally should be 5th to 8th in your MVP voting this year, because everybody's system is designed to stop everything else. Well, you can't guard the whole fucking floor the whole time. So if you're going to keep it so DeRozan, Chris Paul's not last game, not the shit game before that, but his first nuts game, whatever, game 3 or whatever, was 7 for 10 in the fourth quarter. It was 7 from 9 from 2. He missed his only 3 and just kept juking into Lance and I keep saying Lance, Larry Nance, Valanciunas, various. I portmanteau that all the time. Yeah. Another good word, portmanteau. You know portmanteau? I feel like we've talked about this.
We have to. I think you've given me a portmanteau lesson before, but enlighten us all again.
We'll do it again. It's just when you stick 2 words together to get a fusion word. So brunch is a common portmanteau. Breakfast and lunch. Brunch.
Gotcha.
So I take Larry Nance and call him Lance with an increasing functionality. And he's not Lance Stevenson. But anyway.
Does breakfast qualify? Because break and okay.
Well, here's the thing. I think a good portmanteau, and I could be wrong here, requires
take something out, like
the fusion. The absence is not just saying a word and then another word. So like a bookkeeper is one who keeps books. Right. I don't know if a bookkeeper also notable because it's the only word in the English language that has 3 consecutive double letters. Double O, double K, double E. Only word in the English language. Bookkeeper that has double in a row. There you go. We're just full language trivia.
Rinpack is a portmanteau. Rinpack alert, by the way.
Rinpack is not a portmanteau. His full name is
that's what he says.
His full name is not Rhinoceros Pachyderm, and we're calling him. Although from now on, I want to call him Rhinoceros Pachyderm.
Yeah, I mean, you.
Is White still a 10, not starting? Yes, I would still rank him as a 10. Honestly, I probably like him more. It's close for me, but if I like him less, it's by a very, very small amount. His ownership will go from, I think, 80-something% to, I think, high 60s. And yeah, he'll lose like a minute in my projection, but this is actually better. There's still a really big upside. Like, Kobe White can shoot. And I'm not even giving him a crazy game. He could shoot 8 for 17 today, including 6 for 10 for 3, and have 28 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, and a steal, and have 41 fantasy points. Like that line is absolutely in play for Kobe White just based on volume or something. You're laughing your ass off. What's going on?
There's Rinpack and Jake going back and forth. Moms were brought up really quickly, and just it's taking me back to the shadow chats we had during like Summer League, WNBA, back when you were at FanVise. Me, Jake, and Rinpack were always chopping it up. I know Cam was in there sometimes too.
Rinpack is not a portmanteau. Rinpack said Rinpack is a portmanteau. That is. Oh, you know what it is? I'm completely wrong. It's his first and last name abbreviated.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It is a portmanteau. I stand completely corrected. If I'm gonna stand up here and be that loudly wrong, I gotta own it. Yeah, that's the Renpack is a portmanteau. That's excellent. I think it requires now I have to Google this. PORTMANTEAU. It's got a spelling on it. It's like if you can, a good way to start if you're a giant dork, can you correctly identify and spell portmanteau and onomatopoeia? If you can correctly identify and spell,
is it onomatopoeia? I always said onomatopoeia.
I believe either is correct, but again, okay. I don't actually teach classes on this shit. I'm just a dork, so I don't know. A word blending the sounds and combining the meanings of two others, for example, motel from motor and hotel, or brunch from breakfast and lunch. I don't think it requires this. So yeah, breakfast itself, comes from to break your fast.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying I'm correct that it's onomatopoeia. I think it's You can even use onomatopoeia as an adjective. Something can be onomatopoeic. I don't know.
You see what T Panthers posted?
I don't know, but I'm fucking Morris Day, and you're someone. Yeah. What is this?
It's a visual, I guess, of you just whooping my ass on the board over the last 6 weeks.
It got out of hand. It got out a little.
Yeah, it is still out of hand, and could certainly go further.
All right, so I gotta reproject the Bulls now.
Sure.
Javonte is going to be viable now. He was viable before. Now he's maybe even underowned.
Sure.
But yeah, I would still have Kobe as a 10. His ownership will drop by 20 points, and that's actually going to be more valuable than the fact that his minutes are going to take a 1 to 2 haircut, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's try to figure out exactly what this rotation looks like minute to minute. And the floor is there too. I don't know. He's probably dead even for me. It really depends on how low we get.
See Dre and Pat Will, or Barton and Wiggins. I will take the first one. I'm a huge fan of Draymond tonight. Which, by the way,
wouldn't breakfast be a compound word? Okay, a compound word is where you're just putting two parts together. A portmanteau is where you're putting two words together that have a combination of their meanings and pronunciation. So, like baseball is a compound word. There's a lot of things that are compound words, but I think breakfast would actually. It's a really interesting question. I don't know. We got to look at that. Let's forget about the basketball. Let's just talk about that. Word
so we will get, as Shams reported, I think first on like the McAfee show today, then an hour and a half later he tweeted it that the Warriors are expected to start Steph for Kevon Looney. So getting that PTSD lineup out there to start this one.
I especially like the fact that Wiggins doesn't get in the nickname. Like, I don't think it's it's like, I'm an all-star, yo.
Yeah, okay. Well, see, that's the thing. Is he got enough? The accolades are already overflowing for Andrew Wiggins for what he deserves. So you got your all-star. You don't get in the nickname.
Those who are late do not get fruit cup.
What are the odds Kobe plays under 20 minutes? Minuscule.
1%. Under 30 is now a real possibility. I under 30 is now like 20 or 30% likely. Like, and that's why I'm so the most extreme set I can get this rotation has both Javonte and Kobe for just under 30. Like, I'm looking at a rotation now where I see Javonte playing 28.5 and Kobe playing 29.5. Yeah. That would not be bizarre to me. Like, I think that's a very real possibility. That something in that range could happen. So in theory, that's your scenario which you're walking around. But they just don't like, again, I said they may not play Tristan Thompson. I don't think that's likely, but there's like a 30% chance he doesn't step on the court. Then they have 8 guys, really. Like, they're going to play the starters and Kobe and Derrick Jones Jr. and Troy Brown Jr. That's it. They're not going to throw anyone else out here. So, but yes, I am greatly annoyed. I'm going to go with this as my most likely conglomerate lineup and go with Javonte Green at 26 minutes and 17 and a quarter fantasy points. That's very good for 3,200.
Mm-hmm.
There is a question what the ownership comes to. I don't think it's enough. I will top of my head guess that he holds in the 20s now. I like Javonte Green a lot. Yeah, I think Io picks up a little. So I think you're looking at something like Io 70, Kobe 60, Javonte 20. No one else should really change that much. Yeah, and I still like all of them. They're a little bit shorthanded and they're just not too expensive. I mean, Vooch is not as good at 8,400 as he was at 7,700, but his projection. So we were saying before, you started an interesting conversation. I spoke about it for a second, then I think I started lecturing on Old English and Chaucer or something. But there was, you were talking about how they had to go with Kobe, and I was talking about Levine did not do much in games 1 and 2, in which they won one and were pretty competitive in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I projected a sweep in this series. They got hammered in games 3 and 4. They probably get hammered tonight. But there is just gigantic usage here for potentially DeRozan, who in game 2 in particular was just unstoppable. They could not handle him. Now it's easier for them to double him quite a bit now. It's like, oh no, I have to leave Javonte alone. Whatever will we do? So he is going to get some absurd defensive coverages. He is going to have to work hard for the money. But Vooch, I actually probably slightly prefer. Center is a little sticky there, but Vooch at 84, I probably slightly prefer to DeRozan because they can do less things to get in his shit. He's good in the post. Brook Lopez is really the only guy they have who I would say would do a good job guarding Vooch. He's just fine against Giannis. Just again, Giannis is a sublimely good defender. The worst thing he is at as a defender is on ball in the post. It's the worst thing he is as a defender. He's still a little better than average, but Vooch can actually handle that. So if Vooch is if he could get one-on-one against Giannis 50 times, they would take that. He would produce more than a point per shot. His true shooting would be 55 or 60. He would put up some very reasonable numbers in that context. So, yeah, max Bulls 4.
Yeah, in tournaments, I think 4 is as much as I could do.
It depends who they are. I'm assuming 2 of them are values. So the question is can you play Vooch and DeRozan? And my answer would be yes. You can play Vooch and DeRozan.
Yeah. Let's break into, because we've got about 13 minutes until this main slate locks. Let's break into Nuggets Warriors here. Warriors 8.5-point home favorites. They will start Stephen Curry over Kevon Looney. So you're going to get the 3 guard lineup there with Poole, Clay, and Steph. Andrew Wiggins at the 4, Draymond at the 5. Out of all those, all 5 of those Warriors, Draymond is my favorite, followed by Steph. But I think you can play the other 3 with confidence. It's just depends on the rest of your lineup, who else you have exposure to on this Warriors team.
They're sitting Looney, they're not sitting Poole, right?
Correct.
Just check.
Or that's the expectation. It's technically not confirmed, but that's been reported.
It doesn't matter that much to me. Whether or not Looney plays his 11 minutes starting off the bench is not actually going to change the rotation.
But do you think what's the chance that he doesn't play at all?
Looney?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty small.
Yeah.
If there's a chance he plays 10 minutes, I think I have him for 11 or something. There's a chance he plays very little. It's more likely Kuminga doesn't play. He will back up Draymond to get some center time out there, and they'll throw him out there to be able to Cousins or
That's what I was gonna say. Is he just gonna go out there to try to stifle Boogie a little bit? Because Boogie's been, especially from a fantasy perspective, very good in his limited time.
Yeah, I think he gets out there, but yeah, I think I don't think he's really in play. You need a Draymond injury for Kevon Looney to somehow work out. For me, as far as the Warriors go, I have Steph pretty clearly my favorite by far. Again, we had the ceiling game in the last game. That's difficult to expect in those minutes, but the minutes might hypothetically come up again. this game is the closer game of the evening. So in theory, the guys from this game are a little bit safer. So I like Steph. I like Dre. You can play any amount of Clay and Poole, though they don't project as well for me. Honestly, Clay, Poole, and Wiggins are all in a pretty tight band for me. If you had to get into the value, I have Porter a little bit better than Bielitsa, a little bit better than Peyton, but none of them very good. And honestly, over the Chicago value or even the Milwaukee value, I would say. I'm getting a number of, I'm not on the stream. Can you look at my lineups? So I'm going to take 90 seconds and help some subs.
Sure. And P-Buck's got a 2v2 here, Giannis and Monty Morris, or Brolo and Jokic. I will take the first side there. It was Giannis and Monty Morris, or Brook Lopez and Jokic. And I'll take the Giannis and Monty Morris side. I don't have a super strong lean on Giannis versus Jokic tonight.
I don't either. Giannis is going to be well higher owned.
Sure.
I think like you're by like 15, 18% or something. So I'd probably, for that reason, slightly lean on Jokic. But again, the one lineup I built was lots of bucks not named Giannis.
Yeah, I think it comes down more for me there that I would prefer Monty Morris over Brook Lopez tonight.
Yeah, again, there is still some negative correlation between Lopez and Portis. Portis is going to be more owned. His ownership itself will also come down. Again, in that last game, he was pretty highly owned. I hit him right on the nose where I think I said I had him for 29 DK. But there's a real ceiling on Portis. So, not a super strong take. I got to put on streamer mode. This thing's beeping its ass off.
Sure.
I usually have that on, but bad hosting. Naughty.
So I just wear the headphones so nobody can hear how many notifications are going off on my end.
I can just spam the crap out of you. Does this work?
Yeah.
Does this work?
Yep.
I can't. I haven't even done it yet. What do you mean yet?
I'm telling you it is.
You're hearing all this?
Yep. That's an unfortunate reveal for you.
Yeah. Oh well. Again, I'm due for a while. I got the LeBron debut, so
you got your tickets ready or what?
I do not. I'm considering not doing it, which seems spoiled, but I'm considering not doing it.
I mean, it'd be hard to top what you did last time, and we have some.
I think impossible, other than ridiculous serial number.
Yeah, I mean, you could hit another Braun and maybe a Zion debut or something.
That's true. The rest of the pack was not good.
Yeah,
the rest of the pack was garbage.
Yeah, but we have some other trade ticket packs coming up that are not as fun. So.
Right, which is where and tickets are getting more expensive, and the value of S1 things has come down. So the math is not nearly as. So I still like Pat Connaughton. I can consider any number of ways in which this goes. Pat Connaughton versus Grayson Allen. You can obviously play Grayson Allen. By the way, one of the reasons Grayson Allen was so good, Kobe White just kept handing him the ball for no goddamn reason. Like they threw it right to him. It was at least 2 of Grayson Allen's steals. He will likely shoot less than 90% from the field and 80% from 3 today. It's difficult for me to know exactly how owned he's going to end up being, but enough so that I'm not super excited about 30 minutes of Grayson Allen at 5,200. But he's obviously in play. But I suspect he ends up being a little. This ownership is going to be fascinating when it comes out. Looking at the second game a little bit more. The end of the last game was really fascinating. It was a rare time where Steve Kerr kind of fucked up. He called a play on the last timeout that he had called against Denver earlier this year in a specific situation in the exact same situation where they specifically use Wiggins to set a screen and then roll to the basket, and they were all over it. Literally 3 guys on the court, including Jokic, and the coach are like, they're gonna do this, and then they did exactly that, and the play broke, and it like cost them the game. So it's really interesting. There's I can count on one hand the number of times I saw Steve Kerr make a dumb, but he literally called a play where almost everyone on the court knew what was going to happen, and they broke it up with 30 seconds left. And won the game. So that was really.
Speaking of play calls, how about Finch last night?
Yeah, a couple of them.
I mean, I don't know if it was him or one of his guys, but Love that play call to Ant Edwards. And then Ant Edwards giveth and Ant Edwards taketh away.
Overplayed that steal. Why are you going for the steal to stay in front of the guy?
He's not even in between him and the basket with 3 seconds left?
Yeah, he just charged
Come on,
4 at that point, I think, but he just charged. He went upstairs on him closer to the top of the key, and you're gonna
that was two questions I want to get to before we move on.
Please.
2v2 here, Drew and Boogie Cousins or Draymond and Grayson Allen. I lean slightly to the second side, but I know we're both big fans of Drew. And Boogie's been great fantasy point per minute.
Yeah, play the first one. Don't play Jokic. Hope he gets in foul trouble. And somehow the game still stays close, and you get 20 minutes of Boogie and whatever. But I would play the first one. I'm gonna pick Drew and anyone reasonable over anything tonight. I just think that he's like, of all the players in the games, I don't know who's the second most off ownership, but I think Drew is like 20%, and I just think that's way too little. And that's the best edge I got.
I'm channeling my inner Adam Pfeiffer tonight and putting in the call for a Draymond triple-double. Starting at the 5. I think he gets it done tonight. The other question here from our buddy Shazam. He says he's got Joker, Bones, Steph, and Draymond. Would you close it out with Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, or Andrew Wiggins? So Joker and Bones on the Nuggets side, Steph and Dre on the Warriors side, Gordon, Barton, or Wiggins.
Yeah, I would actually go with Gordon. His role is a little more secure. They've used him against that PTSD lineup more. Most of the time he guards Poole and does a good job on him. It's one of the reasons that Poole is a little bit behind Clay and well behind Steph and Draymond for me. And Barton's time is suspect now. Like, they were pulling him for defense in that last game. First couple games of the series, Barton was pretty good. First 3 games, he had 20, 30, and 40 fantasy points. And before game 4, I said I preferred him to Monty Morris to someone. And Monty Morris had a more effective and productive game than you should expect out of Monty Morris. I think he shot 5 of 7 from 3. I think he made all his threes in like the third quarter or something. He went absolutely off in one period of time. Like, Monty Morris is fine. I like him slightly more than Grayson Allen, but still, he's fine. He's solid. He's priced well. That's you can get there. But Barton can turn into Austin Rivers, who had one of the best games of his career. You're not going to notice it, but he played 30 whatever the hell minutes, had so many deflections. I don't even know what the number is. I don't know, but like, he had double-digit deflections, I think. Ended up with 5 steals. Was all over the place. And afterwards, Mullen came out and said, yeah, I'm going to be often enough subbing Austin Rivers for specifically Will Barton. That threatens the minutes a little bit. The ownership will obviously be well down. You can play Will Barton. But for me, I think Gordon is a little more secure, and still nobody's going to own there. I think I ended up with I didn't have actually I know I didn't have Gordon in the placeholder, because the only player in the second game in the placeholder is Draymond Green.
Let's see. I mean, we're coming down to it here. Under 3 minutes until this slate locks. Any quick takes on that trio we kind of touched on earlier? Poole, Thompson, Wiggins. Wiggins obviously at a different price point, 5'9" compared to the low sevens.
I have them all the same. Like, they all rank very similarly for me. There are some questions as to how the defense deploys. But all of them to me just end up being fine. I can come up with a take for the purposes of good TV, but I don't have it reads this way for me. Again, adding more and more minutes of Steph, as we saw last game, limits them a little bit. I have those 3 guys very close. Push to a decision, I probably would have Clay, then Wiggins, then Poole as far as preference.
Yeah, that's exactly where I am. I'm a little bit worried, Eddie, about the usage for Jordan Poole just playing the majority of his minutes with this group. I mean, we saw Steph get really stretched out last game to pretty much full minutes, even playing off the bench. And it's a 1-game sample, but his shot attempts did suffer. Only 10 attempts in that game.
Yeah.
And his most minutes of the series.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing. And like I mentioned, Austin Rivers, he's fine to play, but he played like his best game ever and still had 17 fantasy points. And that counted 5 goddamn steals. Like, it's still Austin Rivers, unfortunately, which, he's I would rather play Javonte Green at this point. They project very similarly at this point.
We'll fire any last minute questions you got into the premium Discord chat. We're a little over a minute out from lock here, and a very interesting ownership game to come. Yeah. I've got about 15 minutes after lock tonight, Eddie, so I don't have to just sprint off stream here. No. And we can talk a little bit more about that second game, especially I know if T Panthers is still hanging around, I assume he's taking a look at that late showdown as well. So we're about 40 seconds out here, so I'll try to type any answers to questions here into the Discord. I see at least one person typing here. And they decided against it, so I'll take that as just an indication that we did great. We covered everything that 55 minutes.
I felt like it was a good show. It was 2 games and whatever. We covered everything and some important word structure and verb usage and etymology, and I'm getting confused. I always get entomology and etymology confused. One is the study of bugs, and the other is the study of word structures. It's not good when you...
Etymology is words, right? Entomology is bugs, you said?
I believe entomology, E-N-T-E, is bugs, and etymology is words. But I wouldn't bet my life on it at the moment. So here we go, back to the Googles.
We are at lock, by the way.
Etymology, E-T-Y. Etymology, the study of the origins of words and the ways in which their meanings have changed throughout history. Entomology is, I think, E-N-T-O. Yes, E-N-T-O. Entomology, the branch of zoology concerned with the study of insects. So there we go. And honestly, people are like, how do you know so much random shit? Whenever I encounter something I don't know, I look it up. Yep. And then I happen to have a decent memory, and ta-da, bullshit. Like that's it sounds dumb, but I think it's a very good habit to have someone in your room say a thing and be like, I don't understand that. Spend 5 seconds, Google a thing. Mm-hmm. Now I know a thing.
I don't know how much dumber I would look if I didn't have this Google machine in my pocket everywhere I went, but no, it would be incremental. Unfortunate for our buddy now Ricky there in the chat. CSV did not upload, so 50% of his lineups are a train tonight. So good luck to the train.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a sexy train.
Love train?
Does it have Drew Hutton? People of the world. Join hands.
Irish Rogue says the internet, hell of a tool. No doubt about it.
I think it's more good than bad. I think I would have enjoyed living more in a time well before it.
Sure. The bad is just louder.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
The bad on the internet is just louder. But that's in general. That's almost with anything.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, it's always loud. It's tough because you at the same time want to be, you want to have a nuanced argument, but like one of the issues with TV is that it equivocates things. Like if you want to put someone up on the TV and have one person say, hi, there's been 60 court rulings in common fucking sense. There was no fraud in the 2020 election. And then you want to put someone else up there who thinks there was. You are presenting a false equivalency of these are equal ideas, and sometimes they're just the fuck not. So how do you handle that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if I believe one half of that and you believe the other half of that? Like, you would like the argument to weigh through, and in theory it does, but it can take a fucking while, and you end up like this. You Jerry Springer that shit. Jerry Springer might actually be better because the boring audience tends to. Yeah.
So our buddy Moses Guthrie doing the research for us. So we appreciate that. Courtesy of study.com. Brunch as a portmanteau has a feeling all of its own. Meanwhile, breakfast is an example of a compound word because it combines 2 words, break and fast, without blending or altering the original words at all. If breakfast had been a portmanteau, it would have looked something like
breast.
I
was about to say breast.
Yeah.
Honey, I want sausage for breast. We'll see how that goes. Okay.
All right. The ownership is pulled up here, Eddie. So before you make your first guess, which may be now altered because of Kobe White coming off the bench, I'll remind everybody that may be tuned in and not a subscriber of FTN Daily yet. You can come try us out for a month. The NBA premium package is $49.99, but you get 15% off with the promo code FTNTV. It's all one word, gets you access to all the premium content here at FTN. And if you stick with us past that first month, you get the same 15% discount applied to your subscription all the way through the end of the NBA Finals. So come on, try us out. Go on a little playoff run here. We're about to get into the second round and the beginning of series, some of our favorite time in the NBA playoffs for DFS. And jump in that premium Discord. If you do come join us, tag Eddie and me. Let us know you're here because we would love to have you. And if you're already subscribed, or if you're, just tuning me out during that little daily shill, at least hit that like button. Still 58 of you tuned in here, and you could subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to know when FTN goes live. It helps us out greatly. And tomorrow night, I wonder if George left me a graphic here, if I can find it, because there is a draft spectacular tomorrow night, and I believe on Friday as well for round 2. The 2022 NFL Draft Show for round 1 kicks off tomorrow, I believe 7 Eastern. So Adam Pfeiffer will be going right from the NBA stream to the NFL Draft live stream. All the best, NFL talent here at FTN breaking down the picks as they come in. Should be a fun time. So again, you can hit that subscribe button, notification bell to know when that show starts. After my long-winded shill of the day, Eddie, it is on you, the highest owned player in Chicago, Milwaukee.
I feel good about 1 and 2. I feel pretty good about 1 and 2. I think Io will be more owned than Kobe at this point. So I'm gonna go Io then Kobe for 1 and 2, and then it's just gonna be a goddamn mess. 2-game slates are like, I have to recalibrate everything, and I think it's a mess. But whatever, we'll go Io then Kobe.
Io then Kobe.
I'll try 65-55.
Yeah, 61 and 50. 61.
Yeah, I prefer this Kobe much more. Like
Sure.
I much prefer 50% Kobe coming off the bet. Like he's lost like 4 minutes for me. He projects lower, but he's 50%, and the ceiling is somewhere you can get going, and they keep him out there.
Yeah,
and 50% versus 80, which is honestly where I think he was. Maybe I had that wrong.
all I know is I need a fucking win, so let's go Kobe. Who is number 3 after Io?
I'll let you out of your bet. You assume
I'm fine.
Okay. Number 3. This is going to be a mess. Wait, how many players are owned between? What's the ownership percentage on number 3?
41.38.
Right, and I think this is going to be ridiculously even. How many players are owned?
How many players are owned? 40.27.
Well, not even that. I'm going to say, how many players are owned between 25 and 40? Is it 7? Ballpark?
It's like 8 if I include that 41.
Yeah, that's what it's like. There's thicket. So anyway, I'll try Giannis.
Giannis number 4. I thought you might have picked up. I said the first syllable of number 3 here, and before I said the other. Yeah, I almost gave it up.
I heard you took it in the ass down in Casitas. So sweet. Pat Williams.
Pat Williams number 3, correct. 41.5.
Okay. Inverted those two. I'll try to keep going. All right, so Pat, Giannis. Not Vooch. He'll be lower. It's definitely not Drew because people are bad. I'll go DeMar.
Yeah, DeMar number 5.
Okay. High 30s, I figure we're about.
He's right there at 40. Shazam says an NBA game started mostly on time. What world is this? I assume TNT had the half-hour pregame. Right. Typically, when they get that pregame 30 minutes in, they will actually start the game on time. And if they don't, you get at least an 8-minute delay. That is the sports world here in the United States. Nothing starts on time. Even soccer. Soccer.
Baseball is pretty. Football does. Football, literally, they go, the games start and every game kicks off at the same time. Like I used to watch a Red Zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an 8-minute delay to be sure, but it's definitely not right at noon because they have the intro for Red Zone and everything now that starts right at noon. It's at least 90 seconds after.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What did we do? All right, so we did Pat, Giannis, DeMar.
Correct. That is 3 through 5.
Portis?
Portis number 7. Almost hit you with a McStuffins there. It's 0.3 difference here between 6 and 7.
Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen number 8. He's only 1% behind these two.
Really? Fuck you. I don't think Javante got this high. Vooch?
No, Vooch number 10.
Pat Connaughton.
Pat Connaughton number 6.
I guess just read it now. I lost track of what the fuck I used in that order.
Apparently, Vucevic hit a wet spot on the floor, cracked his head hard on the wood. He's walking to the bench under his own power.
It's like they needed something else bad to happen.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna turn everything on his head if he doesn't return. Obviously, I didn't see it. Just our buddy Rinpack keeping us up to date in the chat there.
I mean, if he actually hit his head hard on the floor, he's concussed and he's not coming back. Like, you just cannot. 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be done. They're not going to play him concussed. Like, if he actually hit his head hard.
I would like to see. Yeah,
I run it, but if you can correctly say that he hit his head hard on a hardwood floor, I'd say he's 10% to come back in the game. He's concussed and the series is over already. Tristan Thompson, there you go. Derrick Jones Jr., get in there. DeMar, yeah, but that's what was Vooch on? Like 25, 30%?
So Vooch was 26.5. And then you're going to love this. Drew Holiday, 11th, 16%.
That's annoying. I definitely had Vooch in the placeholder. Yeah, the placeholder was 7 guys from this game and Draymond. So
yeah. You got 11 on Wes Matthews, 10 on Brolo, 6.5 on Derrick Jones Jr., 6% on Javon Carter. So I'll give the field credit there. That's about right, I think, with George Hill out and Javon Carter at his price. 1.5% Troy Brown. Everybody else less than 0.5%. My guy Luca Vildoza off the injury report and 0.11% owned.
You could get there.
Zach LaVine, 0.02 alongside Alex Caruso and George Hill. So we appreciate that 0.06% of people, assuming none of them crossed over with that ownership. P-Buck says, take a salt tablet, Vooch. You're fine.
I mean, I hope so.
31 seconds ago, Vooch is staying in the game.
Okay. Vooch is going to have headaches and white spots in his vision. I've had the worst concussion I ever had by far. Not that anyone cares. But if you want more shitty head stories, I think I may have told you this story in the past. Maybe I haven't. But I would just.
You never know. Concussion.
I've had diagnosed 5 concussions, and undiagnosed it must be 20. Like, I have absolutely no idea. I have one of the most obvious ones was I played on a church football team in Rochester, New York. Mm-hmm. That was awesome. It was 11 on 11, full tackle, no pads. It was insane. It was absolutely ridiculous. I did it for 2 years. I probably played 12 games. I would say we sent 17 people to the hospital. Mm-hmm. It was absurd. You just had, I remember I almost killed someone once. Literally, I threw a ball over the middle. And as a quarterback, one of your big responsibilities, especially when you're playing in the most fucking preposterous league ever, is don't lead your guy out over the middle and kill him over the flat. And I just watched a guy jump for a ball and dive and take this head-to-head, not helmet to helmet, head-to-head collision with 2 20-year-old guys running as fast as they could. Oh, my God. But the worst one I ever got was we had a full line. And I got sacked blind by this gigantic 300-pound guy. And he just picks me up and pile drives, not pile drives, but literally, I guess it's more of a, I guess it's a power bomb would be the better term. But I actually come off the ground and he just throws my whole body weight with his body weight on the back of my head and neck.
Mm-hmm.
Giant flash of white, like literally like someone just blasted me in the face with a thing, and then just like, huh? What? Like wandering around, I threw up, and I would just, oh my God. Like I was not right for a week. And I have banged my head on the floor in the gym too, and that is not something you bounce from. So, like, God bless him out there fucking trying. But
yeah,
he's gotten a rebound and an assist a second ago, and like he's doing stuff. But I have hit my head off a hardwood court, especially the back of your head. Back of the head's really big. Like that's what made me think of it is that really nasty one I had. Back of the head is all your like motor neuron, medulla oblongata, whatever the fuck shit. Like front of the head, sure, not good. Top of the head, okay. But for me, yeah, if someone has to hit me in the head with a hammer, back is my last choice. I'll take top, front, back. That's my order.
Yeah.
In case anyone here ever hits me in the head with a hammer.
And you remember when I had to coach those couple games last year during COVID, when my old boss had to be out. It was my first game as interim head, and my second best player got knocked out during the game, hit his head on the floor.
Yeah.
And I remember walking over there, and he was, kept going in and out of consciousness and like trying to get up.
Yeah.
And, like pushed him or like kind of held him down, like, man, just relax.
I was playing in the Magic the Gathering U.S. Nationals once, and another player had a horrific seizure like 3 tables away. And no one knew what to do. And I had volunteered. I'm trying to remember his name. Geddes was his name. Geees. Geddes Cooper. That's his name. And he just starts spasming the fuck out in his chair. Like he's having a bad, I think it was diabetic seizure. He's a big guy. Kind of his guy or something. And like people are just like, whoa. And like, so I come sprinting from like this is just tables and chairs, people playing Magic the Gathering in this big ass room. And they're just sitting there and he's spasming out. I'm worried he's going to go off his chair and whatever. Yeah. And so I still have scars on these fingers because he got into his tongue a little bit. So I pried his mouth up and I've got my hand in there and he's fixed on my damn hands. I have scars across several fingers but yeah, I was, he's a big fan. He like bought me dinner and was just like, if you ever need it. It was really nice. But I remember that happening.
Scary stuff, man.
Yeah, that was again, and you don't usually expect that at the Magic the Gathering events, like basketball. Hey, that guy broke his leg,
right?
Sure, you see that coming, but like having to jump into EMT mode at the Dorkathon is not, was not the expected.
P-Buck says he imagined you like Terry Tate, the Office linebacker, in your football church league. Have you ever seen those videos? Those are 20 years old, but.
I don't know. I don't get the reference.
Once we get offline, or I'll shoot you some of the videos. They were very.
I read the letter, Kenny. So yeah, give me more of
that. Yeah. Which I think I know P-Buck's. I assume P-Buck's still here. Shorzy comes out in like 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that.
What is that? Is it a?
It's a spinoff. Yeah, one of the characters in Letterkenny.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, because they have their cast plays multiple characters. And the main character, Shorzy, you never see his face in Letterkenny. And now he's got his spinoff, and they just put out the trailer where you finally see his face, and they've got the shaved head, hockey mullet, or shaved sides with the hockey mullet. Right. And see there's a
Shorzy in 6.5 minutes, 1 turnover, negative fantasy points.
It's tough to get shots off when one of the best defensive teams this decade is focusing all their powers on you.
Yeah, they were worse this year. Like last year and the year before, they were
absolutely
a historic year. But that's 14-7 through 6 minutes. So we're on pace for a hot 112 to 56 game. I don't think it's gonna stay quite that low or that disparate, but it's looking bad. Kobe White into the game, steal. Right there.
Saw that.
Troy Brown into the game
for Io.
Green. Yeah.
So before Derek Jones Jr., you get Troy Brown. Interesting.
Well, Derek Jones Jr. is just coming for Vooch, who's trucking it out there with his brain damage. He's Dane damaged.
0 for 3. Both him and Io 0 for 3 as well. That's unfortunate. He got a block while he was in there, his 6 minutes.
Yes, 6 minutes. Block. Out. So, 16-7 Milwaukee.
Grayson Allen keeping it hot. 2 minutes, 1 for 1, and 2 rebounds. Pat C up off the bench, no?
Yeah, that makes sense. Drew looking good. I'll take it.
Yeah. 5 points, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, but you got a 3.
Yep. Auto rebound.
We've dipped below 40 live viewers here. The premium Discord chat relatively quiet, so I say we go ahead and dip out of here. Watch some basketball. I think both of these series end tonight. The Bucks certainly off to a good start in accomplishing that 18-7, just under 8 minutes into this game. Eddie, I think you're back Saturday, I believe.
That sounds right.
Yeah. At least one more time before we start anew into round 2, I guess, on Sunday, maybe Monday, depending.
Are you on tomorrow? Maybe I'll crash.
I'm on tomorrow with Adam before the NFL draft, and then it's gonna be a much more fun slate in my opinion to break down and to watch afterwards. And it's gonna be a multi-screen type of night, man. NFL draft, NBA playoffs.
DeRozan on the board again. Now 2 turnovers.
Oof.
In 8 minutes.
Did you see?
On the
and of course he went off last night.
But we wait for 3. That's how this is going to work out.
There we go. Did you see DeAndre Hunter's line in Game 4? I think it was Game 3. He played, I think, 32 minutes. He scored 17 real points and finished with 16 DK.
Yeah, there's been a number. Jamal Crawford did that a few times back in the day. Like there's been a number of people who have had fewer fantasy points than points. Doesn't happen often.
The 30 plus minute sample of that though is just incredible. All right, everybody. We appreciate you sticking with us, tuning in as always. Again, you can sign up for FTN using that promo code FTNTV. Gets you 15% off. If you haven't yet, hit that like button on the way out. Helps us immensely. That YouTube algorithm loves when you hit that thumbs up button. I'll be back tomorrow with Adam. Maybe a surprise appearance from Eddie. We'll see. You'll be on the lookout for that Pokemon break-in. For Eddie, I'm Zach. Shout out producer Thomas, wherever he's at. Good luck tonight, everybody. And as always,
let's get these beans.